All right. Okay. Thank you everyone so much for coming to the Matador Insights on Entrepreneurship. So today we have four wonderful panelists with us that are from all varieties of fields and in different positions. So we're going to learn a little bit more about them today. So let's go ahead and meet our speakers. So before that, I just wanted to preface as that this is meant to be very straightforward and casual. You're meant to speak with the speakers if you would like. You can put questions in the chat, or if you want to ask a question directly, feel free to unmute yourselves. But if you do not want to, we also have some pre-prepared questions for the panelists today. So before we continue, we can go ahead and introduce our first speaker. So Gina, if you can give a little introduction about yourself. Thank you very much.
Yeah, of course. Well, welcome everyone. I'm super excited to be here. My name is Gina. I'm a talent acquisition manager at Enterprise Mobility. I oversee the hiring, recruiting, and onboarding, all of that for the Central Coast and North LA areas. I do oversee about 45 branches and about 3 airports. So a little bit about that. I work for Enterprise. I'm not a CSUN alum per se, but I graduated from UC Irvine with a bachelor's in business economics and Chicano Latino studies, but that's a little bit about me.
Thank you, Gina. Debbie, if you want to go next. Oh, you're muted, I believe. Yeah.
Yeah, hi. So I'm Debi Durzi. I am a CSUN alumni, and I am currently a real estate broker who I've been in the business for the past 15 years. And I have been involved in a couple different franchises where I've owned multiple franchises and 2 different businesses. So I have some experience in different areas, and I am a former teacher as well. So kind of a different, multifaceted background, if you will.
Yes. Thank you so much, Debbie. Now, Emily, if you want to share a little bit about yourself.
Hi, it's a pleasure to be here. My name is Emily Serebryany, and I'm a co-founder of Female Leadership Evolution Institute, but I'm a 3 times founder. My first company was sold to a publicly traded company. And I'm a CSUN alumni, very proud CSUN alumni. Also, I'm a first generation immigrant. I came to this country and I started my CSUN studies in my 20s. I came from Ukraine. So thank you. Very excited to be here again.
Nice. Thank you so much for sharing. And now, Cam, if you can share a little bit about yourself as well.
Hi, everyone. My name is Cam Kashani. I am a CSUN alumni, class of 2004. My company is actually called Divinus LVX. There's a little there's a little typo there. I'm a 4-time founder. I'm on my 4th company right now. I've gone from tech all the way to wellness and spirituality. I have my doctorate in spirituality and my MBA. It's kind of like a broad spectrum. I previously built the first co-working space in Los Angeles for technology entrepreneurs and startups. We had Uber LA, Instacart, ZipRecruiter, all these guys out of there. And then I evolved into this space now where I'm empowering women and men to remember their power and how incredible they are. So thanks for having me.
Yes. Thank you all so much for your time and being here and just sharing, about your experiences. So I think maybe just to start off, and in case others want to ask questions, I do want to pose a question for you all first. So can you tell us a little bit about what inspired you to pursue, entrepreneurship, or what led you to where you are today? And how did you identify the first opportunity that you went into? And anyone can share if they want.
I'll start. I had no idea I was going to become an entrepreneur. I had one of those stories growing up where I was severely bullied in school. I had no self-confidence. I had no self-esteem. I did not believe in myself. The last thing in the world I ever would have thought is that now I'm a coach and transformational speaker, empowering people, let alone an entrepreneur as well. And entrepreneurship kind of accidentally fell on my lap. I had an opportunity to be a co-founder for a startup back in 2008. And I jumped on it and I failed really, really hard. And I learned a lot. And then it led to the next company, which is the co-working space I just mentioned, which was supremely successful. and ended up literally becoming ground zero for the LA technology ecosystem. And then I ended up losing that in my divorce because my co-founder was my husband, my ex-husband. So I had to start all over again, find myself, do a lot of soul searching, and remember what I'm actually here for, which is to empower people. It's a reflection of myself. I had to learn my own power first. And now it's been about 10 years that I've been coaching and speaking and also doing the entrepreneur thing, which is really beautiful. But it's really just a matter of like trusting yourself, trusting the process, and trusting that your path will open up for you, whatever that looks like. And it might look really unconventional, like mine did, and that's okay. Just kind of rolling with it, flowing with it, and allowing it to be what it needs to be.
Very true. Thank you, Cam.
I'm okay, I can go. So for me, like Kim, I didn't know much about entrepreneurship. I came from a very different world, very different country. And so the first country, I'm sorry, the first company that we started, it was 7 years after being in this country. And it was 2 years after graduating from CSUN. And it was basically because both me and my ex-husband lost our jobs. So we started the company. We had no, we didn't have like the ambition that, oh, it's going to become big or it's going to be, it was really, how are we going to survive? And we didn't have jobs. We lost our jobs. How are we going to survive? And back then, which was a while back, um, we just said that, hey, we have nothing to lose. Why don't we start a company? And it was just very fortunate that within the first year, the company took off and it became successful. We had this company for 20 years before we sold it to a publicly traded company. And we never knew that we as an immigrants can provide 2,000 jobs to different people in the United States. So something that as an immigrant, very proud of.
Yes. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Well, I can go next. So for me, it's a little bit different, right? I've always been inspired by the idea of building something from the ground up and taking ownership of those results. So for me, like working for enterprise mobility gave me the opportunity within a structured environment, right? It's like running my own small business. So if you don't know anything about enterprise, like we do have a sales management training program that helps you learn how to run a business from the ground up. So that said, you go through like the management training program, you go to an assistant manager position, and then you become a branch manager, and you're really taking ownership of a branch. And I learned how to manage profits, the customer satisfaction, our team performance, and that in itself made me realize that entrepreneurship is not just about starting a company, but about thinking like an owner in literally everything that you do. So although for me it looks a little bit different than everyone here, I work for an organization that really provided that for me and for anybody that comes on board. And giving us the opportunity to really, really thrive on our own and teach your team and develop them, right? And get them all basically to be those entrepreneurs and business owners.
Thank you. Definitely, Gina. Thank you so much.
Hi. So what inspired me to pursue entrepreneurship and how did I identify my first business opportunity? I had a positive experience owning a small fitness franchise back in the year 2003. Really aging myself here. And that was at a time when I had left teaching. So I was a teacher back then. I quit teaching when my second son was born. I wanted to be able to be sort of a stay-at-home mom for a while. I had 2 kids at the time and was just working a regular 9-to-5 job. So I quit my job. And during that time when I was at home with the kids, a couple years later, I did have the itch to do something, and I did come across, like I mentioned, a small fitness franchise. I was a member. I was very passionate about it, and I wanted to open my own, and that's what I did. So that was my first experience with my own business when I opened that small fitness franchise, and that was a positive one. And I could talk a little bit about how I got into real estate, really briefly. So fast forward, after I sold that first fitness franchise, about 5 years later, I went back to work full-time at teaching. And I had not secured my seniority when I quit my job the first time around when I had my son. And so at the end of my second year, instead of getting my permanent status, I received a pink slip along with about 2,000 other teachers in LAUSD. So during that time, I became unemployed, and I had to sort of reassess what I was going to do next. And that's how I ended up getting into real estate, which is a whole journey, which is a whole other story, but we'll get into that later.
Yeah, definitely. We have a lot of time, so we can definitely talk more into that. Yes, thank you all so much for sharing. And with like all journeys, there comes your highs and your lows. So can you share a little bit more? I know you touched upon like your challenges, but maybe highlighting like more of the challenges you faced when you first started out and how you kind of moved past those challenges.
I'm muted. Hi. Um, Man, let me just tell everyone that being an entrepreneur is a challenge.
Mm.
It's like the same, it's the same. Entrepreneur equals challenge. So if you're not up for that, don't do it. It is a game and it's a long game, and it requires you to be so self-aware. And it requires you to understand that the biggest fight that you're in is the fight with yourself. Has nothing to do with what shows up on the outside at all. It only has to do with your own mental game and how you react to situations as they show up, because they will. For me, like I touched on, my first company was an absolute failure. It took 2 years, $200,000 of our own money, and we ended up with 3 customers. Like super duper failure, right? And that was really, really hard. And because it was my first failure, and I was still in my 20s at the time, it was just like, it felt like death. And it was an ego death. It was a form of death. A part of my ego and my identity had to die in that moment, and I had to let it go. And once I did, which took a minute, the next step revealed itself, which was the very successful company. It was called Coloft. Super successful, super amazing. It was about a 4-year thing that I was there. I had the nickname the godmother of Silicon Beach. Everyone loved me. I was making a ton of money. Everything was great. And then, as I said, my co-founder was my ex-husband. And in the divorce, I somehow ended up without the company. And I became a single mom to twin baby boys overnight, without a company, without an income. And I had no idea who I was at that moment. Like it was an identity crisis. Again, another severe ego death on every angle of things, from becoming a single mom to becoming single to losing my company. I had no idea who I was in that moment. And I could have stayed in victim. I could have said, well, life sucks. Everyone takes everything from me. I'm just going to sit here and just be sad and depressed. And you couldn't blame me necessarily, right? But I wasn't about to give my power away like that. I did go through a period of time of victim, for sure. I had to have the moment of just like grieving my old life. But then there was something inside of me that said, this isn't it. You are here for more. And that's when I started working on myself. I started taking classes and courses on self-development. I hired a coach. I did seminars. I read books about consciousness and about really expanding myself and what I knew, and letting go of old stories and old lenses that I would view things on. And I found my power. I wasn't living in my power before. We aren't taught how to be in our power. So if you think you're in your power, you're probably not, unless you've done the work on it. It's a very different energy and frequency to be operating in a space of authentic power that has nothing to do with ego, nothing to do with labels, nothing to do with money, nothing to do with any of that. Just truly being in this empowered space. And it took a lot of time and work for me to get there. And once I did is when I realized what I'm really here for, which is empowering people, empowering entrepreneurs, empowering women, reminding them who they are before the world told them who to be. And I've never been happier. I've never been more successful. My newest company, Divinus LVX, is doing beautifully. And it's all because I found me. And like I said, being an entrepreneur, it's the biggest fight is with you. So you really, 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 I could say that word infinitely, need to work on yourself and how you perceive rejection, how you perceive challenges, and understand that none of it means anything about you. And just jump back up whenever something gets you down. Get back up, because you fall down 7 times, you stand up 8. You have to keep going. You can't let anything keep you down. It's a long game.
Thank you so much, Cam, for being so honest and open. There's definitely, I can imagine, a lot of struggles, but it just shows how resilient you are. So thank you so much for sharing with everyone. I don't know if anyone else wants to add to this question.
Sure. So what were some of the biggest challenges I faced when starting my business, and how did I overcome them? So when I got into real estate, one of the biggest challenges I had was that my husband and I owned a second franchise, different business. My husband had opened it up. I supported him. But that franchise, we had to put it to rest. And needless to say, like Cam, there was a lot of money invested, over 200,000. So that was a huge loss for us. I remember when we went into the business, and I finally said yes to him. I kept saying, no, this is not an area of your expertise. This is a lot of money. I knew in my gut, I guess I thought in my gut it probably wasn't right, but I wanted to be the supportive wife. And so, I can't say that I was involved because I agreed. I gave the green light. We took money out of our home to start this business. So it was a big deal. And when it did fail, that was right around the time when I got laid off. So it was a lot of things were crumbling around us. And when you have to start over and I was in my early 40s, it's not an easy task, I think, no matter what age you are. But again, I thought teaching was secure, but when I got laid off, right around the time when my husband's business was pretty much tanking, I did have to reassess, what am I going to do now? So I did substitute teach for about 6 months and found that was very unrewarding. Not only was I making very little money, but the connection with the kids was not the same as having my own classroom. It's a completely different connection with your students. And that's really why I got into teaching in the first place. So I decided to shift gears, and I did, like I said, I became a real estate broker and decided to go into that full time. But the biggest challenge was fear of failure, right? Fear of failure and a severe cash flow challenge. Good thing about being an entrepreneur in real estate is there's not a big startup. I wasn't opening my own business as far as like funding my own, opening my own doors. I hung my license with another company, and as a realtor or broker, you can do that. And so the expense of the rent, the electricity, all that is on on the owner of that company. But I am my own self-contained really entity within a real estate company. So we're all responsible for generating our own business, paying our own marketing expenses, right? Finding our own clients. And that was the biggest challenge when I first went into real estate, is I didn't know anyone that needed the help of a realtor. And I didn't really know what I was doing. I didn't feel like I had that credibility yet to earn a client. So it took some time before I actually believed in myself. However, during that time, as Cam mentioned, just staying motivated is extremely important, and feeding your mind with positive self-talk. But also, I had to read a lot of books. I had to, get a lot of self-help books. positive thinking books, just things to stay very motivated and encouraged. And truthfully, at that time in my head, fear was not, I mean, failure, excuse me, failure was not even an option. I didn't even have that in my head because I could not fail. My kids were depending on me. One of them was in private school. We had to pay our mortgage. We could have, lost our home. So in my head, like I did not have that as an option. I could not fail. Like in my head, I'm like, there is no way. I wasn't even gonna. Failure. It never even occurred to me I could fail because just the fear of thinking of that was something I didn't even want to think about. So I pretty much did get out there and do what I needed to do to find clients. But I think it was fear that must have driven me, just needing to provide for my children and really proving something to myself also. I felt I needed to prove something to myself because I did have my real estate license when I was in college, and I did it for about 6 months as a side job, and it was just too hard. I mean, I didn't get one client, I didn't make one deal, so I never thought I could really. I knew I had to come back into the business and do it right this time and give it my all, and that's pretty much. I was committed 110%.
Thank you, Debbie. I think it's definitely very valid, and very truthful, what you're saying. So thank you so much for sharing.
For me, it was like for Cam and Debbie with the first company. We actually didn't have any money because we were in this country for 7 years and we lost jobs and we didn't have anything. And it was a huge survival. It was not, again, it was not an option that you cannot succeed because otherwise we would be on the street with nobody else to help us. No food, no, nothing. What helped us at the time we started, and I know today in today's world we wouldn't be able to start this company because we would have needed funds to start the company. But back then, we started the company in 1997, which was a long time ago. And back then, we were lucky because my ex-husband was familiar with the industry, and we basically ourselves started working within around the clock, just trying to ramp up the clients, trying to ramp up the services, we didn't have, speaking the language of startups, we didn't need a market product fit. We knew the product, we knew the market, we knew how to fit the puzzle. And so after a year, the company became actually profitable. And with that profit, we continued to constantly reinvest into the company. And after that, we had a really big payroll. So we had a large line of credit. And with this line of credit, we were able to further finance everything that we needed to finance. And so that's basically a situation where again, probably in today's world, that would be very difficult. You need funds, you need to figure out how to start, particularly if you're starting something technology related, it's very difficult without money. My challenge came with the second company because when we sold the first company, I traveled for a year. It was wonderful, but then I also didn't see myself. I lost my sense of identity because all these previous years when people were asking me what are you doing, I knew what to answer. I was my company. But after I sold my company, it was like, I don't know who I am. I don't know. Like, I don't know other than my name. I have no idea who I am. And I started another company. But because I signed a pre-comprehensive non-compete, I could not go to the same industry. And so I had to go to a very different industry. And I just foolishly assumed that I know so much about business that I'll just do it like that. And it wasn't like that because it was a different industry. It was a different time. And in my second company, actually I failed. And it's extremely painful, because we remember things. Sometimes we don't remember our successes, but we remember the most immediate things that happened to us. And so that was very, very painful. And it took me some years to recover from this. It took me on a personal journey, like Cam's journey of self-discovery and understanding who I am, and that building a company and who I am are two different things. So, yeah. So that's my journey.
Definitely. Thank you so much. Oh, I think we have a, okay. Sorry. I don't know if you want to contribute, Gina, to this question.
Yeah, of course. I mean, mine, of course, is a little bit different. So wonderful to hear from all you wonderful women who have, overcame a lot of the challenges of being an entrepreneur. For me, of course, like I mentioned, it's a little bit different because I have Enterprise Mobility, my organization, kind of backing me on this, right, as I run my own business, and they're very supportive. So for me, one of the biggest challenges was simply just learning how to balance so many different priorities, right? You're managing employees, you have to meet like certain sales goals and keep your customers happy, and try to go out there and find business. So early on, I mean, I just realized that time management and delegation had to be key for me. And I overcame these challenges by building strong relationships and communications, being authentic, like everyone mentioned, right? Just being that authentic person, that manager, that leader who is always striving for the best and willing to, teach and educate the team, to share the knowledge and to get everybody to the same level that you're at, or even surpass you, right? So focusing on consistent processes, of course, that drive both results and customer experience is just kind of really important for me. So that's kind of some of my challenges.
Thank you all. It's definitely so empowering to hear, the different challenges you all face, again, different fields, different opportunities that you all have. But yeah, you're all very resilient, and I think the students are very grateful to hear from you all. And thank you so much. So, seeing as we do have a lot of students here, all students, can you explain a little bit about how your time at university helped shape to where you are now, or what you think are some helpful tips that students can do now to support, their entrepreneurship journeys?
Yeah, I can start here. So I hated school until I went to college. Like literally, like all of elementary, high school, all of that was just terrible. And then I go to CSUN and I absolutely loved it. And for the first time, I learned and I was doing what I enjoyed. And I majored in marketing and entrepreneurship. I was a double major, and it was so much fun. And it was so beautiful to connect with people, and all the different projects and whatnot that we had actually were really beneficial when it comes to building a company. Like I remember I took one class, I can't remember the name of it now, Gateway, I don't remember, something that was all about creating a marketing plan for an existing company. And that was spot on. Like doing that helped me tremendously with building what I ended up building. Now, the thing I would say to focus on, and the feedback I would have, is don't get caught up in the small stuff that sometimes school has you focus on, right? So like for me, operations never mattered in the 4 companies that I've built. Operations they exist, but it's not how it's taught unless you're in corporate America, right? There's a lot of stuff that we're taught in school that doesn't apply to building your company, but applies beautifully if you want to get a job out in the corporate world. So you got to keep kind of clear on which lane are you going? They're both great. Like which lane serves you best? Which lane feels most authentic to you? Yeah, there were certain things that we had to focus on that were kind of irrelevant when it comes to building a company. So I would encourage anyone listening here that's interested in entrepreneurship and building your company, really connect with your why. What is your purpose? What sets your soul on fire? Like, what is something that just really excites you? What would you love to create? What would you love to make a reality? Because like I said, and like every other beautiful woman here has said, it's hard. It's not easy and you're gonna fail. End of story. That's just the truth for everyone. So you might as well do something you really, really love because that's going to be your fuel. Don't worry about, how am I going to market and how am I going to this and how am I going to that? None of that matters. You will figure all of that out. What matters more than anything else is that you are truly committed to this because your heart is in it. If your mind is only in it, good luck. It's not going to work out. You're not going to be happy. You're not going to be fulfilled. Even if you do work, like it works out a little bit, at some point in time, you're going to feel empty inside. So you really, really want to find what is it that sets your soul on fire and begin thinking about that. Begin putting energy into that and begin trying it. Like just having ideas, building a website. Nowadays with AI, you can build a website in 2 seconds. And you can really just have like an idea out there and test it. Will this work? And just go from there.
Thank you, Cam.
So for me, CSUN was extremely pivotal because I came here not knowing anything about how the American system works, how it's being run. I didn't know the business laws. I didn't know any business fundamentals. I didn't know what marketing is. And so learning all of this stuff became very foundational and very pivotal. But what became also very important for me is, and it happened by default, but now I really tell everybody about that having mentors it became really important for me in building a company, because the school teaches you a lot of things. And like Kim said, some of them are applicable for building a company and some of them are not. For example, for me, marketing was very applicable. Business law was very applicable because I ended up reviewing and doing a lot of contract work because we had a lot of contracts. Um, but the foundation of building the company, a lot of mentors, or actually a few mentors who were very influential, helped me. And I think it's very, very important. And I also tell all of the students, CSUN students, how you can do the networking, how you can connect with people who have expertise in your industry so they can help you it's not cut the corners, but instead of doing the hard learning, they can help you kind of shorten your way. And what I didn't have back then. Now you have all this amazing opportunity at CSUN, which is you have the entrepreneurial studies, you have an accelerator. So go and try it. Go and try it and see if this is for you. Also, yes, it's very true. You need money for a lot of things that right now you want to start, particularly technology related. You need money. So you have to start thinking about this because it's not unattainable, because there are platforms like Kickstarter, and it's not necessarily venture capital or angel investment, but things like the community-based platforms, equity-based platforms, somewhere where people can follow your ideas and get kind of on the same page and get excited about what you're building. And that can be one of the ways to raise money.
So I'm going to go next. So Emily and Cam spoke in several areas, so I'm going to focus on just another area. I think I think what's really important when you're at during your time at CSUN, in my opinion, would be to focus on, besides your studies, right? You've got one area of studies, and then you have, what are you doing with your other time? Are you having viable work experience? To me, work experience is key in deciding where you're going to go next. Because what you learn in school is very, it's based on theory, right? And then you have to go out and apply it in the real world. So if you have a specific interest, a skill, something you are thinking about going into business and starting a career in, I hope that you have some sort of work experience in that area. go work for a company that aligns with those goals, that has the same mission or sells a similar product or whatever it is that you're planning to do. Get that work experience, right? Make those connections, because connections and networking is going to be so important. And you may not realize that while you're in school. But when you get out of school, that's what's going to be pivotal in how you're going to approach your next steps from there, because you're going to fall back on all those connections that you've met. The connections that you've met, the supervisors you've met along the way. Maybe you're not going to have your first job. Maybe it's not going to be an entrepreneurial job. I didn't have a first job that was, I was teaching. Actually, I worked at entertainment TV, so it was a 9 to 5 job. And then I went into teaching. I decided that wasn't for me, but I had to reschool myself. So you may not start out as an entrepreneur, and you might end up being one in the future. So the path is not necessarily linear. But for me, all the work experience I had, the internships, right? There are paid and unpaid internships. What skills or what companies do you want to work for? This is the time to take advantage of that, because you can't go back and do an internship at a company like Disney, for example, if you wanted to do that your junior year and now you graduated, right? Because they have certain criteria that will, it's easier to get into those companies as an intern versus a full-time employee once you graduate. So, kind of see what the CSUN provided for me. Like the Career Center helped me find a couple key areas where it really it helped me see the love in another area that I didn't realize I had. And yeah, one thing was related to real estate. I didn't know at the time I was going to really go into it full time, but take advantage of this time to build those outside connections at work, internships, build those relationships with the supervisors. Those are the supervisors that are going to help you get your first jobs, right? Because they're going to give you good references and referrals. So now is the time to do that. And also, obviously, join clubs at your school, right? Because network with each other, build relationships with each other as well. But those outside work experiences for me were really key.
I can share a little bit. For me, like university really taught me how to work collaboratively, right, and think critically, which of course are really crucial for that entrepreneurship, right? So to keep it simple, right, those group projects, any leadership roles, and managing the tight deadlines is what really helped me prepare for like a fast-paced environment and really be prepared for that unpredictable nature of just running a business. And it teaches you to really be adaptable and solutions focused. So I got involved in research projects when I was at school, and that in itself taught me so much how to work independently, how to stay organized. So, and just this, the basics. Now, get involved, go to the career fairs, talk to the employers there, even if you may not be like what you're looking for in the moment, but building those relationships, like Debbie mentioned, are going to be so important. Networking is everything. It's not about what you know, sometimes about who you know, right? So that's what being in school has taught me.
Thank you all so much. I think definitely it's really important to build your network, and yeah, just connect with others. And we have a question in the chat that's asking about networking. So, in your time at university or outside or wherever you've been able to build your network, can you give like examples of how you built your networks and how you kind of, yeah, just built upon your network? I know Cam answered in the chat, but maybe if you want to speak on it a little.
Yeah. I've never been a fan of networking. Networking is so shallow. Like, it's like, oh, hi, I'm this. Oh, I'm that. I'm this. I'm that. It's like this energy that is so repelling to me. And most people feel this way. And as you succeed in life, you'll see that people will be repelled by it too. What really, really works is building a community, connecting with people that are like-minded, that are in a similar frequency and a similar energy, and having that kind of be your base and your space, because then you have different people that actually help you. because they know you. You're not just a business card, or you're not just some random person. Oh, yeah, Cam, she's a coach. Anyways, moving on. It's like, no, they'll be like, oh yeah, Cam, she empowers women. She does this. She's really cool. Her energy is great. She's da 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 da. Like people get to know you on a more personal level when you're coming at it from the angle of community versus networking. And that has been proven true to me over and over and over and over again every single time I've built a company. I've never looked at marketing even in any other way other than building a community, because no competition can take it from you. No one can. Community is like family. It becomes this really, really beautiful thing. I'll end with this one quick story. When we had our co-working space, it was completely bootstrapped. It was not the prettiest place. It was cute, but it was not like super nice and whatever. Like we literally got our tables from IKEA, you know? And then we were the first co-working space, and within 2 years, there was competition and WeWork. WeWork came along after us, and these guys had millions and just gajillions of dollars. We only lost 10% of our membership base because people felt like they were a part of the family. People didn't want to lose that human component. You were not treated as a transaction when you came into our business. You were treated as a human being. And that is the most important thing that you can do. And you can do that online. You can do that on social media. I just saw this question right now. Social media is a beautiful place to build community. That's what I've been doing now with the business that I have. Yeah, that's what I have to say about that.
I think community is a really beautiful place, and and some of us are gifted in building a community, and some of us might be introverts and might not build a community, but might join some other community. But I think also a lot of startups have advisory boards, and it is for a reason. And the reason is that you might not know everything in how you're building. And so you want this additional set of people who are in the industry to understand their knowledge. And the people are quite amazing with helping. And so my experience, like every one of us have their own experiences. So when I came, there was not as much social media. So I was not able to build a community per se based on social media. But again, having people and approaching people who are in the industry that we were in, who had more knowledge, who were further along, and those people helping us and sharing their knowledge, that was amazing. That would help me to build the first company. And as a matter of fact, in my second company, I kind of failed on that because I guess my ego was too big, and I was like, no, I already know everything. I already built the company. And it was a big difference, because that would made a difference with the first company, that we had an advisory board of people who knew more than us.
That's great. So I think everyone has their own style of what I'm going to say, the word networking. I think you can be very authentic when you meet people and present yourself. But I think as a student, networking is about meeting more people outside of the school. So if you can have an opportunity, like it was Gina that was saying, go to the career center, go to the career fairs, meet potential employers or interview with recruiters, start building relationships outside of the school. And again, if you are involved, if you have work experience, you're going to be networking with the people there at the company, right? So it's your own boss. Get to know the people around you, because those are people that you may run into again in the future, right? And when you network and you build, you're going to build, I would suggest as a student, you build a database of people that you know. So for example, your supervisor at your current job, if you have a current job, that person is going to be key and your relationship with that person may continue for quite some time. So if you make a good impression on your supervisor, they're going to support you when you go to interview, let's say for your first job, right? Everyone needs references. So having good relationships and networking with other people within the company is really key to getting that next position, because people do check references. Many companies require several references. So it is important to network. In my business, networking looks completely different than what you would do as a student. So as a student, networking, I feel, is very important. I know social media is a big tool for in any business you're in now. Social media for me feels very inauthentic because I don't get to connect with a person that I can see, right? I'm more about building relationships one-on-one, and servicing people that I speak to in person, right? And so my business is sort of built more on um, personal relationships rather than social media, because there's so many realtors and there's so much competition in my business that me being on social media and someone following me on social media is not necessarily going to help me get a client, but me having a relationship and building it in the community, like Cam mentioned, can be very useful for me in the future. So for example, like I'm a Rotarian with the Granada Hills Rotary Club, and it's a very small club. And I'm going to say that relationship is more because now I have more time to give back. Right? That's not the group that I would necessarily network with for business, but there are other businesses that you can join strictly to network and to help each other build each other's business. So if there's someone in the mortgage business or the insurance business, my clients need mortgages and my clients need insurance. So it's sort of a reciprocal referral type of business. Have I been able to find those businesses or those groups where you refer each other business? Not necessarily, because although I'm in a sales business, I am not going to be the loudest speaker in the room, and I'm not going to be, in a group of 10 people, I'm not going to really stand out. I'm more of a listener in that type of situation. Um, and I do better sort of one-on-one or in very small groups. So I think you have to know your style and, you know, how you connect best with people and what works best for you.
I think, Debbie, you hit it like right on the spot when it comes to the networking piece, right? I think what's important is for people to remember that when you're networking, it doesn't mean you have to exhaust yourself and, ask a ton of questions and take it all back. And, just take what you need. Take what you need from the conversation. You're going to meet so many different people. And like Cam said, it's very important to be involved in those communities and also network. So there's two different types of like networking and community, right? So take what you need. You don't have to, stress out about, having very, professional conversations. Like, yeah, when you're networking, maybe at a career fair, yes, maybe stay a little more professional, and, go to those community events and go to places that are really important to you. If something important to you is, maybe working for an organization that cares about the community itself, like start to get involved. So there's so many different ways that you can network. And again, take what you need. You don't have to take everything that is, said from a conversation.
Yes, thank you all so much for the different perspectives. I hope the students can see how networking and building your community can look different. So definitely, take what you hear and then just practice whatever you feel comfortable with, because that's how you start. So thank you, ladies, so much. And just, looking at time, I will want to close out with one question. The last question I want to ask is, what advice would you give to students who want to start their own business and feel unsure of where to start?
The first piece of advice I have is that nobody knows how to start. It is Like I said, being an entrepreneur brings up every single self-doubt molecule that's ever existed within you. They all come up and they go on blast. So take that first step, even if you're unsure of it. It's really important. And here's the thing. It's like the universe will provide you with that first little step, and you'll intuitively know what it is. We all do. But it's our mind that comes into the equation that talks us out of it. But the truth is that opportunity shows up. You have to trust yourself enough to take that first step and trust again that the next step will show up, because it always does. The universe will respond to your frequency and to how you're showing up in the world. This is physics. It's just how it works. So take that first step, no matter how scary it is. Nobody knows what they're doing. Nobody has it figured out. Every single one of us is still trying to figure things out. There's a story that really helped me with this point, and I'll say it super quick. I was working with an investor who was a multi-gajillionaire. He had built 7 companies and exited 4 of them. Super successful guy. And I was sitting in the conference room with him when he wanted to build his next company. And he's sitting on the phone, and this guy is asking him, well, what are you going to do about this? What are you going to do about that? And his response was, I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. I'm an entrepreneur. I'll figure it out. That conversation inspired me so much, because you would think a guy who has sold 4 companies and built 7 had it all figured out. He had nothing figured out. He just trusted himself. So it's all a matter of self-trust, taking that first leap and trusting that it'll all show up as it will.
Thank you.
I would say, just to share a little bit here is, I would say just gain hands-on experience wherever you can, right? As everyone said. So whether it be internships, side hustles, any leadership roles in student organizations. So just start somewhere. And entrepreneurship is really about mindset, right? Taking ownership, learning from your mistakes, and just staying curious and asking a ton of questions, leaning on your mentors. And, obviously don't wait until you feel completely ready, as Cam mentioned, right? You kind of just learn the most by doing, and you figure it out as you go. So, and again, surrounding yourself with the right people, mentors, creating a safe space for yourself and where you can have a clear mind. Again, just ask questions, and yeah, start somewhere. Even the small steps kind of build that momentum for you to start something bigger. So yeah.
I'd like to go next. So I agree with Gina and Cam, both brought up some really good points. So ask a lot of questions, yes, and find a mentor. So I'm going to highly advise that if there's an area that you want to develop, an area you have interest in, find a mentor, right? So you might say, how do I do that? Well, ask a lot of questions, ask around, ask the people you know. Ask your parents. I mean, mom, do you know someone who is a blank? Or, uncle, do you know someone who is a blank? Or someone that knows someone that is in that business, right? Because we are all connected. And if you ask enough people, someone is going to know someone in that field. And people want to help. People want to give back. I have people come in all the time that are thinking about getting their license. Come in, talk to me. I'd be happy to share anything you want, right? Because I'm always about helping people. I started out as a teacher. That is who I am at the core. I want to help people, right? If it's not a win-win situation, to me, it doesn't work. Every party has to be winning in some way. So Think and what is it? Yeah, so several books. Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill really helped me. But the magic of thinking big, kind of like what Cam said, if you put it out there into the universe, those positive thoughts, it's going to come back to you, right? So I know you have to sort of train your mind to think like that. I didn't think like that when I was a student at CSUN. I had to actually read books and actually really think upon that and study that type of thinking to be able to understand that it's what you think that's gonna guide you in the future, right? Because all you have is yourself and what your thoughts are. So it's really important that you learn how to like manifest what you want through the positive or through the power of positive thinking. So those are my last words.
Thank you.
For me, it's surround yourself with a supportive community, because it's a very challenging journey, because there is so much uncertainty and so much unknown. So in terms of networking within the school, there is a huge alumni association. I think there's 64,000 CSUN alumni. I just know from my own experience being on LinkedIn, whenever I see somebody who is a CSUN student graduate, I do respond, because I feel like I've been into those shoes. I want to help. And I feel that CSUN is a wonderful school, because a lot of us have loyalty to CSUN. A lot of us had really good experience, and it helped us. It helped me in multiple ways. And I want to play it forward, and I want to help. And I know I'm not the only one. So LinkedIn can be a good place to network and to reach out to people, and just be sincere. Just tell us that, okay, I'm a student and I have a question. I think I would say out of 10, probably 6, 7 times people will respond. Alumni association, if your parents have connections. But for me, my parents, were not even in this country. I didn't have any connections. So for a lot of students who are first generation immigrants, there are no connections. So you can find this within CSUN network, which is a huge advantage.
Yeah, that's so true. Thank you all so, so much. And thank you again all for your insight, your amazing stories, and being so honest, and just sharing that, this isn't full of successes, but there's a lot of difficulties that come along the way. So thank you all so much for being honest. And I hope the students can take a lot out of this and your experiences. And with that, we can close out today's panel. Thank you all so, so much, and have a good evening.
Thank you.
Thank you.